Hi everyone! Welcome to Nature Walks with Ruth. Today we're going to talk about camouflage. I'll show you some of the ways that animals conceal themselves in the environment. Then we'll record what we find in our field journal. Let's get started. The natural world is full of color. Creatures have vibrant patterns and shades for all sorts of reasons. The brightness of an animal's feathers or fur can show off how healthy it is, which can help to attract a mate or intimidate the competition. Flowers are brightly colored to attract the attention of bees and other pollinators. For some animals, like ladybugs, their color is a warning. Don't eat me, I taste terrible. This protects the ladybug and also saves any potential predators from a painful stomachache. But some animals don't want to be seen. The other day, I was taking a video of some insects that were flying around in a tight cluster, and I didn't notice that I was recording someone else as well. Do you see the rabbit? This rabbit is relying on camouflage to defend itself. Its gray-brown fur blends into the surrounding foliage so well that when it stands perfectly still, I almost don't see it. We can use an animal's camouflage as a clue to where they live. I found this moth on my front porch. The porch isn't the moth's natural habitat, although it is trying its best to blend in. The mottled gray pattern on its wings reminds me of tree bark, and sure enough, these moths live in forests and press themselves against the trunk of a tree to hide from predators. I found another example of camouflage soon after I moved to California. At first, I didn't see this animal at all. I would hear it moving through the bushes or catch a glimpse of movement as it scurried out of view. But with a little patience, I finally got to meet my tiny neighbors. These are western fence lizards, masters of camouflage. Their scales change color to be darker or lighter, which not only helps them handle the intense heat of the day, but also helps them camouflage in the many different habitats they occupy. And they blend in perfectly with concrete sidewalks. While I was watching the western fence lizard, it started doing push-ups. These lizards are sometimes called bluebellies because they have blue scales on their stomach, and they do push-ups to show off this bright blue color and communicate with other lizards. Now that we've found a few examples of camouflage, let's record them in our field journal. A field journal can be whatever you'd like it to be, and I like to experiment with new ways to record what I see in nature. Some of my friends at the Palmer Public Library have been making zines, so I wanted to try using a zine for this entry. I learned how to make a zine by watching Keating's zine video from last winter. I'm going to record 3 of the animals that I saw today. The first one that I saw was a rabbit that was hidden inside of a bush. I have these oil pastels that I've been really wanting to try, so I think I'll use them to draw the rabbit. Oil pastels are really cool because they draw on paper kind of like crayon, but when you rub it in with your finger, it smudges, and it almost looks like brush strokes. I drew the foliage background and then smudged it so that there was a blur effect. Then I drew the rabbit. This rabbit is an eastern cottontail, the most common rabbit species in North America. They're called cottontails because their tail looks a lot like a cotton ball. After I finished the rabbit, I added some more branches, which I drew on very thick to make it look like they were in front. It was fun to experiment with layering and smudging. I'll definitely keep practicing with oil pastels. On the next page, I'll make the moth that I saw on my porch. I was inspired by Tieran's recent game design video, where he cut out shapes and glued them into his zine. So I decided to try that here. I cut the wall out of some textured paper. Then I drew the moth on another piece of textured paper. This looked like a half-wing moth. They're super common, but you don't always notice them. I cut the moth out and glued it onto the wall. Finally, I'll make the western fence lizard. I decided to play with watercolor for the lizard. I painted a small piece of paper light brown, sort of like a sidewalk. Then I used a darker color to paint the lizard. When the brush or paper is really wet, the paint spreads really easily and is very thin. I like painting with a wet brush to make the overall shape, and then using a dry brush to add in details. It's very important to be patient with watercolor. If you start painting the details before the paper is dry, then the paint will run everywhere. It encourages me to slow down and take my time, and I think it's very relaxing. This western fence lizard isn't perfect, but it was a lot of fun to make. Once it had dried, I glued it into the last page of my zine. And with that, we've completed our camouflage zine. Thanks for coming on a nature walk and then making a zine with me. I hope you enjoyed learning about camouflage and the animals that aren't so easy to find. Until next time, take care everyone.